Related literature and studies. Related literature is composed of discussions of the facts and principles to which presentation study is related. For instance, the present study deals with drug addictions. The literature to be reviewed or surveyed should be composed of the materials that deals with drug addiction. These materials are usually printed or found in the book, encyclopedias, professional journal, magazine, newspaper, and other publication. Letters composed nag-discuss sila sa tinuod o ang principles sa ilang present study is related ba. For instance, if the present study deal with drugs, nagdeal ba sila sa drug addictions, literature to be a review or survey should be composed sa materials that deal with drug addictions. These materials kay makita sa books, encyclopedia, professional journal, and magazine. Pwede sad na sa newspaper or other publications. Dito nila makita. These materials are classified as 1. Local if printed in the Philippines. 2. Foreign in the printed in other lands. Related studies on the other hand are studies, inquiry or investigations already conducted to which the present proposed study is related or has some bearing in similarity. They are usually and publishing materials such as manuscript, and dissertation. Sa laing nagkuhan, art studies is investigate na nila. Investigate is already conduct to which present purpose sa ilang studies related or has some bearing or similarities. They are usually and publishing materials such as manuscript, thesis, and dissertations. They may be classified as local if the inquiry was conducted in the Philippines, to foreign if conducted in the foreign island. Important purpose and function of related literature and studies. A survey or review of related literature and studies is very important because as reviewer literature and studies serve as a foundations of the proposed study. This is because related literature and studies guides the researcher in pursuing his research. Binto review literature and study help or guide the researcher in the following ways. Ang ilang survey or review sa literature and study is very important because review literature and studies serve as a foundations of the proposed study because kay important para mag-guide nila ang researcher pushing his research. Bintor reviewer silang studies kay makatabang para ang makatabang sa mga researcher para mag-guide sila in the following ways. They help or guides the researcher in the searching for selecting a better research problem or topic. Para daw ma-help nila or tabangan nila ang researching silang searching for selecting a better research problem silang topic. By reviewing related materials or replication of a similar problem may be found better than the problem already to seen. Replication similar problem na found nilang better than problem already to seen. Replication the study of the research problems already conduct but in other place. So they help the investigator understand his topic for research better. Reviewing related literature studies may be clarify bits of what about this problem. Ang investigator matabangan nila og sa pag-understand silang topic for research better. Viewing related silang studies may be clarify bits point about sa ilang problem. 3. They ensure that there will be no duplications of other studies. There is duplication if an investigation already made and conducted against in the same locale using practically the same responded. This is avoid if the survey or related research and studies papers be made first. Ensure with duplication studies application investigation. Ang ilang investigation is already na-conduct against again silang local using particularly the same responded para ma-avoid nila ang sa survey related silang studies be made first. Number 4, they help us and guides the researchers getting more source of related informations there because the study already conduct research about similar studies. They help and guides the researching in the making his research design, especially in A. The following of the specific questions to be researched on. B. The formulations of assumptions and the hypothesis, if there should be any. C. The formulations of the conceptual frameworks. D. The selections and application of the methods of research. A. The selecting and applications of the sample technique. F. The selections and or preparations and validations of research instrument for gathering data. G. Selection and application of statistics procedure. It's the analyze, organization, presentation, and interpretation of data. I. The making of the summary of applications for the whole study. Mission of the summary of finding includes or and recommendations. So mo din na silang they help sa guides researcher para sa design, specialist design nila. So mo na pamagi para sa ilang research making research design kung saan nila pag himo silang research, silang questions, silang framework. So mo na silang mga types of research design so nila paghimo. So let's proceed 6. They help and guide the researcher is making comparisons between his finding with the finding or other researcher of the similar studies with the end in the view of formulations generalizations of principle which are the contributions of the study of the knowledge. Characterize of related literature and studies. There are certain characteristics of related materials that make them of true value. Among these characters are 1. The survey materials must be recent as possible. This is the important because of the rapid social, economic, specific, and the technical change. Finding a several years ago may be a little value today because of the last jumping lifestyle of the people. Here are exceptions, however, this is the deals and universal of things or more of the less permanent natural may still be good today. There are mathematical law and formulas and statistical procedure that had been formulated a long time ago with which are being used today with very little improvement. This is also true will be natural physical laws. Books of this thought writing a long time ago are still being cited today. Another exception is when the comparisons or contracts is to be made between conditions of today and those of the remote past, say 10 or 20 years ago. Naturally, literature and studies about the remote past have to be surveyed and reviewed. So, the materials reviewed must be objective and bias. Some materials are extremely or subtly one-sided, either political or religious compressions with these materials as cannot be made locally and validation distorted relations may result. 3. Materials unsurveyed must be relevant to the study. Only materials have some bearing or similarity to the research problem is and should be reviewed. 4. Surveyed materials must have been based upon genuinely original and true facts or data to make them valid and reliable. There are cases where fictions data are supplied just to be complete research report, thesis or dissertations. Of course, this kind of description is hard to detect and to prove, thus this is a real problem to honest research. 5. Reviewing materials must be to few nor to many. They must only be sufficient enough to give insight into the research problem or the indicate the nature of the present investigations. The number may also depend upon the available of related materials. Sometimes there is a paucity of materials of ordinarily from the 10 to 15 related materials are needed for a master thesis and from 15 to 25 for a doctoral dissertations depending upon their availability as well as their depth and length or of discussions. For an undergraduate thesis from the give to 10 made to the number, however, are only suggestive and not imperative nor mandatory. These are only the average number observed from the thesis and dissertation surveyed by this author. Silang survey materials has must be the based upon sa genuinely o sa original o sa tinuod sa ilang data to make valid and reliable. There are case these functions and stations published thus complete sa ilang research report. Of course this kind of deception is to detect and add sa ilang para ma-probe silang probe. And this problem para silang honest problem ng researcher. Number 5, the reviewing of materials must not be a few or nor too many. They must only be sufficient enough to give insight the research problem, indicate the nature of the present investigations. The number may also depend upon the available related materials. Sometimes there is a paucity of stock materials ordinary from the 10 to 15. So dugay da ini kay 10 to 15 related materials are needed to master thesis and from 15 to 25 for a doctoral dissertation depending upon their ability as well their own depth and length. Discussion undergraduate thesis from 5 to 10 may do the numbers, however only suggestive and not imperative. No mandatory thesis are only the average number observed from thesis and dissertation surveyed by this author.